Hi everyone, I'm Catherine, the artist behind Bigelow Fine Arts. How did the last coloring session go? That should have finished off all the leaves. Today, I finally color in the rabbits and the owl. Beginning with the rabbits, I wanted to go with something more on the brown-gray side rather than straight up brown. I began by laying in a shadow along the back with the walnut brown. The rabbit is facing my light source, so the back and bottom will be in shadow. I'll then go in with the dark sepia to deepen the shadow. I want to make sure to really hit the area down in the leaves and under the head a little. The head is like a sphere, so there should be a little shadow under the curve of the head. I'm using the warm gray 3 along the shadow, then the warm gray 2 to feather the shadow out to the front of the rabbit's body. Then the warm gray 1 all along the front of the rabbit and blending it into the rest of the gray. I now need to go in and darken up my shadows again with the walnut brown. My focus is refining at this point, so I'll darken up the base of the rabbit hidden by the leaves as well as the back and underhead. I also added in a shadow under the front paws on the stomach. Another layer with the gray 1 and the gray 2 to blend. The final touch is to go in and add the medium flesh to the inside of the ears. I used several layers on the inside to make sure it was pink, but I also used a little on the back of the ears because rabbits' ears are thin and look pink all the way through. I worked up the other rabbit, but I put the shadows towards the front of the rabbit and the highlights along the back. The shadows on the bottom remained the same as did the pink in and on the ear. The owl will be complex and involved. I hope I can adequately describe what I did to bring this owl to life. I began with the walnut brown, trying to lay in the shadows where I thought they might be. The shadows are darker on the left of the owl compared to the right side, simply because of where the light source is. I looked up some pictures of owls and settled on a great horned owl. They seem to have banding on their feathers, so using the walnut brown, I added in some bands on the wings, just a few little scoops on each feather and on the tail. I'm going in with the dark sepia to darken up the shadows and refine them more, again making sure the left is a little darker than the right. I also hit up the beak. I left a light stripe down the right side of the beak as a highlight. By leaving it light, it will be easier to add a light color rather than trying to go in later to try to lighten it up. I go around the outside of the eyes as owls tend to have a dark band of feathers around their eyes. Moving away from the shadows for now, I'm bringing in the burnt umber, adding in layers, and also adding in the reddish tones I see in some of the feathers. I wanted to add a reddish ring around the eyes, but I think this terracotta pencil was a little too orange. I kept the layer light. Moving down to the wings, I added in a layer of raw umber right over the banding, then the tail, top of the head, and a light layer on the stomach. All the white areas of the owl I'm going to hit with the warm gray too. For now, that is around the eyes, top of the beak, and the chest. Most of the areas have been blocked in with some tentative color, and now I need to refine and color correct. The warm gray 6 is adding in the shadows on the feather ridge around the eyes. I'll go in and touch up the beak, leaving the highlight alone for now. The chest piece is not all white, so I'm blocking off the darker section from the lighter section with the gray 6 and filling it in. More terracotta around the eyes. I'm still not happy with this color choice, but I stuck with it, trying to mute it with some raw umber on top. I used the brown ochre on the top and bottom of the wings, leaving a light band in the center. I did the same with the tail as well, and a light layer on the front ruff. I'm trying to cover up the terracotta this time with the brown ochre and burnt sienna. I'm going to start going through and refining the colors. More layers of the walnut brown, focusing on making the left side darker than the right. I pulled out the black to make the eye ring even darker, as well as the beak and the claws. I didn't use a heavy layer here. I don't want a flat black, but just a layer to darken the colors I put on top. I'm coming in with the gray 6 to add a hint of warmth to the black I put on the claws. I'm touching the edges with my eraser to clean up any marks outside the lines. Since I keep my layers light, it isn't too difficult to remove any marks I accidentally make outside the lines. The background will also hide some accidental marks as well. I'm trying to get the left side in shadow here. The white chest is covered with the warm gray 1 and 2. I'm still trying to cover that terracotta a little, at least mute the orangeness of it. I added a shadow under the front ruffle and along where the wings overlap with the body. I'm going a little different here with the eyes than I've seen other versions of this page. I used the circle as the eye. I'm starting with a black spot. My pencil isn't nearly sharp enough for this, so one pupil was a little wonky for a while. I also used the black to V off the bottom of the eye to add a little more shaping. Now I can come in with the cadmium yellow to lightly fill in the iris. I used the dark cadmium and the dark sepia to add a shadow to the top of the iris portion. The eyebrows overhang that part and cast it in shadow. I then try to refine the eye and pupil shape again with a less than sharp pencil. I then hit the whole owl with a light layer of gray 2 to bring everything together. So that left eye is still a little wonky, but that finishes the owl. Next time, we'll be on the background and text. Let me know how your coloring is going and if you've been following along. If you have any questions, please leave them below or on the Patreon post linking this video. Down in the show notes, I have added in the chapter breaks as well as a list of equipment I have or will be using. And thank you everyone for coming along with me and joining in on this coloring journey. I appreciate all my subscribers and look forward to more of you joining in and coloring along with me. That will only happen if you like, share, and subscribe. Until next time, happy coloring!